Hello everyone. Last time we talked about some weird food, and I hope that lesson was interesting to you, especially if you investigated a little more and looked at the internet to find some other weird dishes. I told you last time that today we talk about grammar, and this is a very important part of grammar. It is how to make questions. We will revise the questions, and it is very important for you because when you communicate with people, it's not only important to know how to give the answer, but also how to make the question. Of course, making the questions is a little more difficult than giving the answers, but if you just follow my presentation well, you will find out that it is not that difficult. You have the explanation here, but I would like you to take your notebooks and write down the things that I have prepared to you so that everything is much clearer to you. When we talk about questions, we can say that questions can be divided into two big groups. The first group are yes-no questions. When you give the answer to those questions, you can always say yes or no. That's why they are called that way. The other group are the questions with question words. There are lots of question words, and they are at the beginning of these questions, and when you give the answer, you must give the specific answer. But what is the same for both of them? Both yes or no questions and questions with question words must have the auxiliary verb, and the order of words in the questions is very important, and that's what I will remind you of. But first, write this down, and then we can move on to the next slide. Let's talk about auxiliary verbs. There are three main auxiliary verbs: be, have, and do. Modals are also considered to be auxiliary verbs because they are always followed with the main verb which tells the activity itself, just like the previous three. Write this down and then we will move on. Now let's talk about how to make questions. First of all, I have used some abbreviations to make this shorter. S is for subject, this is for the auxiliary verb, main verb, and question word. I have also used different colors to make it easier for you. Let's see the word order in auxiliary question, in yes or no questions. First, you start that question with the auxiliary verb. After that, we put the subject and then the main verb and the rest of the question. For example, do you like music? Have they finished their homework? Etc. You can see that we have the auxiliary at the beginning, and if you answer this question, you can always say yes or no and use the auxiliary from the beginning of the question. Write this down. You don't have to write this part, only this part here. And then we can move to the questions. Now let's see the questions. If you leave out this question word, you can see that the word order is the same: auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. So the question word comes in front of that interrogative form. And when you cover the auxiliary, the question word, if you don't have this order of words, then your question is not okay. Look, what was he talking about? Question word, auxiliary, subject, main verb. and the rest of the questions are the same. Just pay attention to this one. What kind of music do you like? The question word doesn't have to be only one word. It can consist a couple of words. What kind of music? All these 4 words make the question word. And when you answer these questions, you must be specific. What was he talking about? He was talking about his hometown. So the answer is always specific. You can't say yes or no. I hope that you understand this. Now, when we talk about the questions which start with who or what, and the questions that we use to ask about the subject, then there is one rule which you should know. When we use who and what for the subject, we don't change anything in the sentence. We only replace the subject with the question word who or what, and everything else in the sentence is the same, except the main verb, which must always be in singular form because the question words who and what are singular. Look at this example. Mary likes John. Mary is the subject. John is the object, and we have the verb likes. If I ask the question for the subject, I will say, who likes John? What did I do? I just replaced Mary with who. And of course, the verb must have s. It must be in the form of the third person singular, because who is the singular word. If I answer the question, who likes John? The answer would be Mary. So, it is who used for the subject. But what if we use who for the object of the sentence? Then we have the word order of the question that we were talking about. Who does Mary like? You see, I have the question word, auxiliary, subject, main word, just like in the question that we were talking about. And the answer to this question, who does Mary like, would be John. I hope that you understand this. Please write this down, and then we can practice this a little. Now look at your book. This explanation is here, and below you have one exercise, exercise 3, with the sentences where one part of the sentence is underlined. Your task is to write questions for those underlined parts of the sentences. For example, Blowfish chefs train for 7 years. Your answer should be for 7 years. First, you think of the question word, and here the question word must be how long. Then you look at the verb to find out which tense it is, so that you know which auxiliary to use. And then you follow the word order we were talking about. Write questions for these sentences, and then we will check it together. Let's see. Here you have your answers, and here are the questions. Please check them so that I'm sure that you understand everything. Now you have something for your homework. In your activity book, you will have to do the exercises 1, 2, and 3. And in those exercises, you will practice questions. On page 27, there are some reading comprehension exercises, and those exercises are for the students who can do that. You don't have to do that if you can't. If you want to practice a little more, you can visit these sites, because here you have the exercises of making questions or making the right order of words in those questions. Just write down this address and you can find some exercises which can help you learn this better. Okay, that would be all for today. If you have any questions, please ask me when you see me at school, or you can also write an email, or you can write to me on Viber if you have any questions. Goodbye.